Welcome. In front of me is a REALME 8 Pro, and today I will go over unboxing along with a quick overview of this phone. So, get straight to it. I'm gonna try to stay away from my little plant right here, because I did manage to knock it down before and make the ground go everywhere, so gently gonna put that aside. And yeah, let's get to the phone. Hi, welcome to the REALME family. No one cares, but we do care about the screen protector that comes provided with the device, so that's nice. And well, apart from paperwork and screen protector, there is basically nothing else in here. The top part. Then we get the phone, which we just put it to the side. Some cardboard, super hefty charger. So this is a 50-watt brick. This is absolutely an absolute unit. Just make sure. Trying to see. My bad. That's not even 50. That is 65 watts. Now, probably seeing this tiniest text right here will be impossible, so let me try to make it a little bit clear. I'm gonna take my phone, try to capture a macro shot and then zoom it in. There we go. So if I zoom in, you should see, there we go, 65 watt max. That is a brick. Then we got orange coating, as you can see, little orange coated Type-C cable with a USB-A one end. And that's about it. So let's get to the phone itself. Now I will mention right off the bat, this is basically a little bit beefier version of the normal one, the REALME 8, just not the Pro. So yeah. Let's just turn it on. I'll mention there's a little bit of a difference. At least the one that I had, the 8 normal one, had like this two-tone, well, fairly reflective surface, glossy one. Well, this is just purely matte surface with the writing right here, "Dare to Leap," written on it. Kind of like it. Yeah, it still looks really cool, I would say. Now this feels like plastic, so there's not much of quality feel to it. It kind of, in the hand, it feels a little bit weird. But anyway, let's jump straight to the display, which you can already see me fiddling with. So display right here is a 6.4-inch display, and honestly, I will mention one thing right off the bat. Let me just also move the light. This version of a phone, which is close to $100 more than the normal one, the non-Pro, has basically very little differences between. So I will quickly mention just the differences, which is single camera instead of a 100, or the 8 one has a 64 megapixel instead of 108. The processor is here, we have a Snapdragon 720G, while the non-Pro version has a Helio G95. And overall the charging is better on this device by like twice as much, I believe. So yeah, the charging is here a major selling point of, I would say, the Pro version right here, and the upgraded camera. Other than that, the display exactly the same, and majority of the things that this device can do is exactly the same. This size, same. Build quality, same. It just, honestly, there is little to differ them between, I would say. And I'll also add one more thing, that for $280 that this device costs, or $50 in this case, I believe the Xiaomi Poco X3 Pro will be a better choice here. It doesn't come with an AMOLED display, but boy, it has basically everything better than this device outside of the AMOLED display and the charging speed. So yeah, now going back to this specific one, if you don't know the normal one, I'm just gonna assume you have no clue about the normal 8, Realme 8, so I'm gonna basically describe this as its standalone. So screen on here is a 6.4 inch display, 1080p by 2400 Super AMOLED display with a peak brightness of 1000 nits, 83.3% screen to body ratio, and 411 pixels per inch. So by all means, the display here is really, I would say, decent. The only thing that I would say it's missing is higher refresh rate, which at this day and age I would consider to be a requirement. Almost every device has it, and honestly, personally I prefer faster refresh rate of a display rather than having it AMOLED. Now, even better would be to have both of them, but I guess we can't have everything, so I'd prefer the refresh rate over it. So yeah, now you can clearly see the display. Let me also max it out. This is how bright it gets normally. Now I would say it gets fairly bright, should be visible in direct sunlight. So yeah. Now moving on to the back, where we have the quadruple camera setup. Only worth mentioning one, the 108 megapixel wide sensor. Rest of them are kind of garbage. So we have the 8 megapixel ultra wide and 2 megapixel depth and macro. So honestly, depth and macro, don't even use them. If you're wondering about the depth sensor, because you can't really use it alone. If you use the portrait mode, it does use the depth sensor, which will make your photos come out worse, so just try to stay away from it. That's just kind of my advice. But anyway, let's open up the camera and see how it captures photos. There we go. So let's go straight to 108 megapixels, just so we can capture, as you can see right here, 108, just so we can get the best quality. I'm gonna move the light to the other side, maybe a little bit above. There we go, just so I have the best lighting for it. So that is 108. Then I'm gonna go to photo, which is just the normal. It's probably gonna be downscaled. And lastly, we're gonna go into portrait. Okay. Last thing that I can test is the macro, although I already know what the result of a macro here will be. So let's go over here, ultra macro, and capture it. There we go. Okay, so we got all the photos. Hopefully I can remember the order of them. So here is the macro, which is completely abhorrent photo. Don't use macro, useless. Actually, you know what, I'm gonna go into the gallery app. There we go. So this is there we go, that's the way it was going. Macro, next one. This is the portrait mode, which honestly it's not that bad. So what I usually pay attention to, just so you're aware, is the blur and how the device deals with the blur, right? So on here, maybe it just got super lucky, or doesn't really look like it though. The pine needles, or the needles of a cactus, are still kind of blurry in the background, but there is no visible kind of like outline where it decides to basically go from focus to blur, which is what a lot of, even the the Realme 8 did. So yeah, and here it looks fairly good. Maybe they tweaked it a little bit to make it work way better. So I guess the portrait mode here is acceptable, although who knows, it might not be even using the depth sensor, to be completely honest with you. There's no real way to actually test it, I believe. So yeah. Now next photo here is the macro, or not macro, my bad, the ultra wide, as you can probably see, based on that kind of weird fisheye lens effect. So yeah, the actual quality of the ultra wide is just okay. I can't say it's winning any awards or it's looking anyway like gooder or something like that. It's just a normal photo, which, yeah, personally I wouldn't be using them. It just lacks a little bit of quality. So here, this is a 5x zoom. So this is what do you call it? Electronic or optical? Basically, it just zooms in the photo, crops it in closer. So it's basically taking a higher resolution and making it lower by zooming in on it. So right off the bat, I can tell you that this does way better job at capturing a macro shot than the macro lens. So if you pay attention, like right over here as an example, you can see a single thread there. This cactus does have kind of like this weird fuzzy stuff between the needles, which if we go back to the macro, it just wasn't there. But here you can see just the single threads if you look in. So this did way better job at a macro. Now this is a 3x zoom, same as before, just a little bit of a zoom. And again, looks outstanding. There is a lot of quality in here, detail. The lighting of it is also fairly good and I would say really accurate to how it looked like when I was capturing it. So decent shot here. And then this is just a normal wide sensor. And again, if you zoom in, you can clearly see again a lot of detail in the photo. It did also do a fairly nice bokeh effect behind, where as you can see, like the glasses are not in focus, they're just blurry as heck, but it's not like fake blur. So it looks really nice here. And then we had the 108 megapixel sensor. So one thing that I can already see is this photo is darker. Not sure if you can see it, but like maybe the light was differently placed. I don't exactly recall if I changed it back then, but nope, I didn't. I can see the reflection. So yeah, it is darker, but also allows me to, hello light, there we go, but it also allows me to zoom in way closer, because the 108 megapixel captures at full 108 megapixels, capturing the photo at way higher resolution. So let's see, if we go into details, we can see that this is 12,000 by 9,000 pixels. This is an absolutely huge photo. Actually, let me check how much space it takes. So this takes 16 megabytes of space, a single photo. And if we go, sorry for the light, it's dying out on me. And if we go to the normal one, just a wide sensor, this takes 1.8 megabytes. And the size is, instead of 12,000 by 9,000, it's 4 by 3,000. So you can see significantly less detail. But anyway, cameras here, at least the 108 megapixel sensor does a fairly good job and can't really complain about it. Now, if it's worth paying $100 more for it, or, well, no, my bad, $50 more, it's something that I guess you will have to decide yourself. Now, going over the rest of the device, which is the internals of it, like I had mentioned before, comes with a Snapdragon 720G. It has only one version of storage, so 128 gigabytes, two different versions of RAM, so 6 or 8 gigabytes, a little bit different from the non-pro version, which also had a 4 gigabyte version, but other than that it was basically the same. Also, the storage here is expandable via SD card, and it is UFS 2.1, which is a little bit sad. I would prefer to see 3.1, honestly, but oh well. Battery, 4500 milliamp hour battery with the 65 watt fast charger right here that we have. And apparently they advertise it that it will charge your device up to 50% in 17 minutes and 100% in 47. Now, to be fair, if I look at the Realme 8, the non-Pro version of it, it had a crappier charger at only 30 watts and it charged to 50% in 26 minutes instead of 17. But it also had 5000 milliamp hour battery instead of 450. So there is a little bit of a difference here. Smaller battery for some reason, and well, better charger, but then again I can charge something faster when I have to charge it less, you know what I mean? So it's a little bit of a shame that it came with a smaller battery for some reason. It just seemed like a lazy excuse to keep everything the same display and build quality. I assume it was cheaper for them to do so, but then like battery suffers on a more premium version. It just doesn't make sense. So just to finish it off, I would have to say that the Pro version seems like a missed opportunity. This device could have been way better. Could have come with 120 hertz refresh rate as an example, and that would have put the device above the 8 non-Pro version of it. Other than that, this device, in my opinion, has no place. It just seems like what they did put in this device, they could have put on the lower one and just remove one of those options. They're trying to pollute the market with their devices in a way, but there's no reason for it. It's almost exactly the same device, looks the same, and has majority of the same components in terms of same display. Basically the display is exactly the same as the step down model. The only difference is in the processor and in single camera. So, and the battery and charging speed. Those are the three only differences that are between those two, and it's lacking the Pro feel, if you know what I mean. Like when you hold this device, it just kind of feels cheap, which isn't something that I thought I would ever say about something that has a word Pro in it. So that's, I would say, one drawback here. And honestly, when we look at this device and compare it to other devices, as an example, like I mentioned before, the Poco X3 Pro, price basically the same. It doesn't come with AMOLED and has a slower charging speed, but other than that, the device is better in every single way possible compared to this one. Starting off with the processor, it's just gonna blow this one out of the water, like out of the park. There's no comparison. The phone will feel so much faster and more premium than this, and the price is the same. So if you have to pick between those and you don't care about the AMOLED display and maybe under display fingerprint sensor, then go with the Poco instead of this one. This just doesn't seem like it's worth it, and that's basically what I would conclude this video at. So if you found this very helpful, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and thanks for watching.